And, well, we have some questions from the audience, and that's to any of the Arctic speakers. And question one, your areas are often powered by fossil fuels and generators. How is wind seen in this respect? As a competitor or as an interesting alternative for the future?
Well, I speak for the Faroe Islands. We, as I said, we do have world best wind conditions. So we expect wind to be the bulk of the power production in the future. Some people are, as we heard, are not happy about erecting wind turbines. We haven't had that much problem in the Faroe Islands yet. But now we can see for one of the new wind farms that is planned, we do have some reaction of this, not in my backyard reactions. So there might be some problems, but I think most people are in favor of wind because it is not very intrusive for the environment. After 20 years, or if there are some difficulties, you just unmount a few bolts and the system is gone, and there's nothing left.
Other comments? Otherwise, I would like to. Oh yes, please.
Yeah, it's Larsen. If I can speak on the from Greenland, for Greenland, then I think the general opinion, or at least also the policy from the Nukesha Fit, is that this nearly 100% oil dependency, it is not the future. Therefore, they need to look into alternatives. First of all, if possible, hydropower, but it's very expensive and typically very large systems which are not prepared for the rather small communities which we have in the Arctic and in Greenland especially. So therefore, wind turbines are absolutely an alternative which they look very much into, and they have now set up several of what we can do testing facilities. In Greenland, I think we look more into and see more positive on PV because it's much simpler and the maintenance is much smaller compared to wind. I don't think that how the inhabitants, their opinion about renewables, to my knowledge, it looks like that they are going for the same conditions as we have in South Denmark, the same facilities, so they have expect the same technological development as we have, and it requires energy. So they see that it requires some new technologies, and if it's renewables, wind turbines, and PV, that's okay. That's this condition. So I have not seen the same violence against these ideas in Greenland. Yeah.
Well, that could lead to another question where what is the attitude actually of the local governments or institution towards switching to renewables? And that's a question for everybody, because it seems as it's different from place to place.
Well, for the Faroe Islands, I would say that both the government and the local stakeholders, they all want to switch from the oil to some renewables. And as I said, that will in the Faroe Islands will be mainly wind. We also look into solar power, of course. But there's a general agreement that we should go away from oil.
Okay.
I think in Greenland we have rather ambitious energy plan from the government. As far as remember, it is about 80% that they wish to change to renewables in 2030, as far as I remember, but I'm not quite sure. But so it's rather ambitious. And now they've got a new government, and they will push in that direction.
And here in the Faroe Islands, the government is actually supporting the switch from oil to renewables. We do have VAT refunding for electrical cars and heat pumps as well, and also electrical cars, they do not pay any road taxes and these things. So the government is supporting heavily the switch from oil to renewables.
Thank you. Well, we have another question. Have you experienced any reliability issues due to the harsh climate conditions? That's also for everybody in the Arctic.
I think we can say that Nukesjafit has erected 2 wind turbines in Sisimiut. I think there was one of the participants here who set up a YouTube for the erection of these 2 wind turbines. It was very interesting, but I'm not sure that they have showed the next story. It was that after, I think it was less than a couple of months, then they lost one wing or one blade of this wind turbine, and they have had several problems with these 2 testing wind turbines in Sisimiut. So there's, I think they could have looked at my presentation, and then they could have got a good experience, which they could have used in the design for their testing wind turbines. Because I was, suspicious about the solutions there. So in my head, I felt as sort of I knew better. Sorry. Thank you.
Well, Esben, you might be consulted by these companies. But, well, I don't know if Magnus is still there, but it could be interesting to hear, because we have heard about the winter position in Alaska. It seems not to be really the case in Faroe Islands. But Magnus, are you there? He's not. Maybe we can take it up later, but because it could be interesting to know about if there's a position in Alaska too, as it seems as there are in the northern part of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Russia from the Sami land. But also I see that the opposition is towards the very big wind turbines, and not necessarily to the small wind turbines.
I will add that icing problems depends very much on the location of where you erect the wind turbine. If it's close to the shore, then there can be a risk of wind from the sea pushed up on the hills, and then we got condensation and ice on a wind turbine erected close to there. We have seen such problems in Greenland, but if you have this in mind when you decide your location, then you can avoid it.
Okay, thank you. And another question is that how do you effectively communicate these projects? That means both to the institutions and to the general public. And this is mainly for Joseph Cheek. Are you there, Joseph?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'll repeat my question. How do you effectively communicate these projects, as both to the institutions and to the general public?
For the case of the Princess Elizabeth Antarctica, we communicate primarily from the angle of adventure and
we can nearly not hear you. Can you go closer to the microphone?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
A little bit better, yes.
So as I was saying, for the Princess Elizabeth Antarctica project, we take primarily the angle of adventure, which seems to work quite well. We have a website that's dedicated to communicating about our activities at the Princess Elizabeth Antarctica, antarcticstation.org. We also make several posts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We have a rather sizable following, considering the type of project that we're involved in. But the main themes we focus on are adventure and, of course, the unique nature of the station, that it runs entirely on renewable energy, which is the first of its kind. And every season, the engineers who work at the station are constantly upgrading and improving the renewable energy capacity of the station. I think they increased peak renewable energy capacity by 43% last season compared to previous seasons. They also have been increasing the occupancy capacity of the station. They built 2 new annexes, and yet still the station produces more energy than it needs most of the time. So it's about focusing on the adventure and also on the constant quest to adapt and improve and do better season after season.
Thank you. And what about the others? Is it difficult to access financing for research projects in the Arctic? Well, Esben Larsen, you might have an idea about that. I can see that you.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, it is difficult to get funding. For my case, during these years, we have had a general funding from the Greenlandic government to the Arctic Center of Arctic Technology here at DTU, but it has went up and down, and in a period it was good, and in other periods has been not so good for the part I have worked on. It has been a general funding to DTU for this center, and it will continue, but under our conditions, etc. So for the moment, now Nukish has taken their responsibility for this wind turbine in Safanguaq, so I'm out of the responsibility loop.
Okay, thank you. Are there further comments, or otherwise we will go and have a break now for a quarter of an hour, and according to my watch we will be back, let's say 3:45 or 15:45 CET. Thank you.
Thank you.